Well, I was excited to play a CG character. I've never done that, the whole thing with the dots on my face and the facial capture and all that. So I was really excited. And then they sent me the designs for Pawny, the character, and I got even more excited. So for me, that was a big part of the appeal. Was first of all, I love Men in Black. I'm a fan of those movies. So even if it was me in it, I would have done it. But the fact that I get to play like a CG character that's that big was very exciting. I think the world of Men in Black is so fascinating and so interesting. The idea that there are actual aliens walking around among us, I think it's really, really, it's just a fantastic world. Um, and the idea of doing it at a different branch, like doing it at the London branch, is so smart. Um, so I think it's just a world that is so vast and so broad, that bringing it back feels right because there's just so much more to explore with this setup. The idea that there are aliens sort of among us, and then there are all these other alien races all over, and they're all in contact, and some are good, and some are bad, and there's all this politics going on, and so it really just feels like a world that you can revisit and expand and go into different corners. I had a meeting with Gary about the character, and I had a lot of ideas on obviously based on the script, uh, how I thought Pawnee sort of sees the world and what his world is. And Gary was very open and very trusting, and was like, "Let's figure out a process that let's figure out a process which will allow us to sort of find different aspects of this character." And they basically let me improvise a lot. So almost every take I try something different, as long as it doesn't mess up the scene or get in the way of what Chris and Tessa are doing. Gary's been very, very open. So the process has been very fluid and very improvisational, and very loose in a good way. So he basically will give me a bunch of takes and he'll say, just do something different every time. So that's really exciting because I sort of look at the lines, which are really funny, and I do the lines, and then I just sort of try and think of variations, and then sometimes I don't even try and think of it and just see what happens as the cameras are rolling. So it's a very unique process. I've never actually worked like this. I've never done facial capture before, but I've never done this kind of thing where I sort of do basically a different line every time. It's really fun. So Pani is an alien. He's about this big. His whole life he's lived on a chessboard. He's a pawn on a chessboard, and so his job has been to serve his queen. So this is the first time in his life that he's getting to go out and actually experience the world. And he's pretty knowledgeable about the world because he was an arms dealer, so he knows about all the stuff that's out there, but he's never really seen it. So that's what's really exciting. It's this guy who really knows the world, who's really studied it, but never seen it. Now he gets to actually have those experiences. So he gets to see, the crazy bike that he'd once read about and was excited about. Now he gets to ride it. So it's a really great character because he's sort of cynical in the way that he really thinks he knows it all because he does know a lot, but then he also has this really childish enthusiasm for everything because he's seeing it for the first time. So he's this guy, I think, who's intellectually mature but emotionally very childlike. So he's just sort of he's really fun to play because he's snarky but also an innocent. So it's a really fun. You don't really get to play characters that have both those aspects usually. You don't get to be cynical and enthusiastic, and that's what Pawnee is. his queen is gone, so he doesn't have a purpose in life. So then he pledges, he makes M his queen, Tessa Thompson's character. But as the movie goes, he's sort of coming into his own and becoming his own person. So that's sort of his character arc through the movie. And I think that's exciting because he's sort of lived his whole life to serve someone, and now he's out and about on his own and realizing who he is. It's been awesome working with them and watching them work. It's really inspiring. They're so good and they're so different as people and as actors too. It works really well together in this movie. The way their characters are so different. It's such a great contrast. So yeah, I would say it's been a real thrill working with Tessa and Chris. They're just so good. So I hope I get to do it more.
In John Carpenter's The Thing, a 1992 remake of the classic The Thing from Another World, is remembered for Bob Bolton's groundbreaking practical effects. Bolton created some incredibly lifelike alien gore by using real-life dead animal parts. Most of the cast and crew were repulsed by the effects, but not Wilfred Brimley, who was a rancher and avid hunter.